Welcome to the Real with Joseph Latman. I am Joseph Latman. Uh, Happy Thanksgiving weekend to you guys. Hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving with your families, your friends, and all your loved ones. And go Bucks this weekend. You know, I had to wear the hat today. Got to get our payback on the team up north, but looking forward to that on Saturday. Should be a great game, but should be a good weekend as well. Again, happy Thanksgiving to all you guys, and appreciate all the support this year. You know, I'm thankful to you guys that have been supporting me as I've started this show 7 months ago, and just kind of my whole journey. You know, all the people that have been there for me, even before I started the podcast, through my whole journey, the last 7, 8 years, and the people I've met recently along the way, and I appreciate all you guys, and looking forward to building on those relationships and getting to know more people in the future. And so, but speaking of Thanksgiving, I was sitting around. I was kind of like, okay, what kind of topic do I want to do for my show this week? And I'm sitting there. I'm like, well, it is Thanksgiving, so could do something that goes along the lines with that. And I'm sitting there. I'm thinking about just kind of along my journey. What was one of the biggest keys for me in terms of starting to realize, what I'm capable of, how I'm capable of, in terms of my journey with panic and anxiety and depression, but depression in particular, because I feel like depression is something that a lot of people, almost everybody, goes through, experiences at some point in their life. Maybe not as bad as others, some worse than others, but depression and anger and bitterness. And I use the word bitterness. That's what I chose to use because that's how I felt. I was very bitter and I was very depressed for a long time. And those two things together, in turn, caused me to have it caused my anxiety to get worse, caused my really my health anxiety to get worse, caused my panic to get worse, my panic disorder. It just added a lot of stress and pressure in my life. And it's taken me up until about within this last year recently. And this is something I'm still working on. So that's why I was kind of excited to do this topic today because it's something I've experienced recently, which is, having a mindset more of gratitude and grace. You know, okay, what is gratitude? Gratitude is, thankfulness. If you're thankful for everything in your life, uh, it's like an overflowing feeling. Gratitude is very a spiritual character, in my opinion. You ever notice you meet somebody that's full of gratitude, full of uh, to just have like a spirit within them. Really just think of somebody out there uh, that every time you think of them, they bring like a smile to your face, right? You could see them, they bring like a smile to your face. You get like a warm feeling from them. Anytime you could just see them. And those people usually have a character of gratitude with them. There's something within them that connects to you. And spiritually speaking, I think a lot of times that connection is your heart connects with their heart. As I hit the mic, your heart connects with their heart, just spiritually. And they're very contagious people. You ever notice that people like that are very contagious in a positive way? And I learned a lot of these type of things, these traits in terms of gratitude more deeply when I listened to a sermon last week from Charles Stanley. And go on Charles Stanley's channel, In Touch Ministries. Go look at one of his sermons last week, and I'll put it in the link below. It's called Overflowing with Gratitude. And he really breaks down in the sermon just all the traits that go with gratitude. Somebody with a character of gratitude, and what gratitude can do for your life, and how God, when you have that kind of gratitude in your life, how God uses His grace to so not only supply all your needs, but He gives you an abundance. He gives you more than you expected, and God promises to give you all your needs. He promises those things, and you kind of just when you have this gratitude and this grace, you really start to develop more Christ-like character. And the more you do that, the more you're not going to be as bitter or depressed about things. And so this is something I learned in my life. When I have stretches where when I'm feeling really good, I'm letting things go. My anxiety's low. I'm not feeling the symptoms. I'm usually full of a lot of gratitude, It's like a very humbling feeling. I don't know how to describe it. It's like I could go on a week where I have bad anxiety, and I'm thinking of my past weeks where I had bad anxiety, right? And usually they would end some way with a panic attack, a bad panic attack. After that panic attack, I would then sit, reflect. Okay, what the hell just happened? You know, what went wrong? Blah blah blah. But as I've transitioned more in the last year and a half, really about around within the last year, I'll keep it at that. Yeah, around the last year, I've started to turn more back to the Word of God more spiritually. Not that I ever got away from it, but I wasn't. I've mentioned this before. Before I'm trying to think of the date. Around August of 2021, that's when I kind of hit rock bottom, and I did hit rock bottom, not kind of. And around that time, I was trying to do everything on my own. I was trying to problem solve everything on my own, trying to just do everything on my own, trying to figure it all out on my own. And and I put a lot of pressure on myself too. I got to solve everything right now, and I thought I'd do it on my own, and so, and that just led me to a dark, depressed hole. Just very down. And when I got down, I just felt like, how am I ever going to get out of this? But I forgot what it was always planted, the seed that was planted in me, which was Christ. I wasn't turning to God like I should have been. I wasn't turning to what the Word says. I wasn't turning to. I didn't have an attitude of gratitude and grace. I had an attitude of bitterness, anger, depression, sadness. I mean, you name it. Just not happy at all. Just no joy in my life, no happiness. I just felt like lost. And it was a humbling experience. God re-humbled me is what he did. And he got my focus and my attention back on where it needed to be. And it took about a year, and then up until around when I started this podcast back in the beginning of April, the end of March, that's when things started to click more in my head. And I had a lot of time to reflect from that August till this past spring. And during that reflection time, I started to realize kind of what's really important, what's not important. And I was able to realize also just kind of a lot of the junk in my life, per se junk, and just things that aren't helpful to me that I was doing, such as, how much time am I spending looking at, stupid headlines or news or for instance, what's this music that I'm listening to? What kind of effect is that having on me? Compared to I could be listening to other kinds of music, other kinds of things that actually help your mood. They actually feed your soul in a way. They like soothe your soul. And so it's just little things like that. But over time, when you start to get more neutral and you start to feel more calmer and more, you just feel like you're more in tune with things, the gratitude and the grace shows up. And it showed up for me. And it still is. And that's what, God's grace is incredible. And what is grace? Well, grace is change in you. And when you attach on the grace, it starts to change within you. You start to have a change within yourself, and it becomes contagious, just like I said earlier. And you start to become contagious to other people, but also in turn, you start to adapt to like-minded people. You start to really just attach with people that kind of have the same goals and desires as you. You're no longer spending as much time. You ever been around people, and I've noticed this, you ever been around people that are just very in that kind of bitterness, maybe depressed, but they're just they're very angry. You ever been around people like that? They're just very angry. And every time you talk to them, it's just kind of like it's like a dark feeling sometimes when you talk to certain people nowadays. I'm not saying there's people I love, and you can love these people. They can be close to you. But they just have a negative. Everything's negative. Everything's just like down, cutthroat. Just that, they don't really lift you up in a lot of ways, in a positive way. Everything they say is very vulgar, and a lot of times you spend so much time around these people, you start to get pulled away from. You can get you know, distracted from what you should be focusing on. And it's very easy to do. And this is kind of our world in general today. Look at all the distractions in our world today with social media, with all the. We live in a very dopamine addicted culture. There's a lot of dopamine out there, and we all know what dopamine is. Dopamine controls that feel good in your brain. That's like you could post something to make it like all these likes and retweets. That gets people dopamine, and they get addicted to it. Getting applause on social media for saying all the what's deemed as the right things, what's acceptable online, what the world says is acceptable. That gives you dopamine. Trying to fit in, doing things maybe you shouldn't be doing all the time to try to fit in. That's like a dopamine. We have a very we have a bad dopamine problem in our society, and because we use it in a lot of negative ways. But again, think back to your habits of being around those kind of people. You start to sell yourself short over time. The more time you spend with those kind of people, you don't have a lot of gratitude, a lot of grace. You start to focus on things in your life that you don't have, and you're constantly chasing. And when you're constantly chasing, that's a never-ending cycle. There's no, all these people that always say, well, I'm constantly chasing, I'm constantly, trying to seek, and I got to get this done by this age, and, I need to have this amount of money or whatever. It can be anything. People are chasing followers for credibility or for approval. You're just constantly changing. But you got to remember, that's a never-ending cycle. The goalpost is always moving forward in that. When you're in that realm, it's never satisfying because a lot of these things are worldly. And what's worldly? Well, worldly is anything that doesn't include God, and we have a lot of that nowadays. That's running a lot of this stuff, and so it's running a lot of people's lives, people's homes. It's all based off this stuff. But again, I'm trying to break it down in detail, but show a broader view of why there's so much depression in our society, why there's so many people that are so bitter, people are just sad, people are just down. It's always been around, yeah, but I think you're seeing it. It's growing more and more and more each and every day, more than we've ever seen. And so, again, these are the things that I focused on in my life when I hit rock bottom, and things I still focus on. Now, I'm not going to run on here like I'm some perfect angel. No, I struggle with many things sometimes. But again, I have more awareness now. I try to be more, I strive to stay in the word. I strive to keep myself focused, not, on what my focus should be on. And, just not allowing a lot of distractions. It's setting boundaries. And boundaries are healthy boundaries with not only people, with relationships, but with things around you. Spend time on your phone, spending time on anything, things that maybe aren't I might want to phrase this, things that maybe aren't that aren't healthy if you spend so much time with them. If you spend too much time on them, they eventually drag you down and they wrap you back into that hole. And that hole could be to your anger, your depression, your bitterness. When you stay focused on the other things, though, it keeps you in that state of gratitude and that state of grace. And you don't try to solve everything right now. That's a big thing I learned for myself. When you get in that state of just gratitude and grace, you really start to slow things down, number one, but also you start to enjoy the process in a way. You enjoy this journey you're going. You're not trying to look too far ahead and try to, solve things before they need to be solved. You're not spending too far in the past trying to solve all those things and trying to, recreate the things you hate in the future subconsciously, because a lot of people do that. When you're in that state of depression or bitterness, you could subconsciously recreate the things you despise just out of fear, because you're in that state of fear, it's a state of survival. And I hope that makes sense. But again, when you're in that state of gratitude and grace, you're able to slow things down, but you're also trying to not solve everything right now, which in turn allows more pressure, it allows less pressure on you and to, you don't have that pressure to force anything. You don't have that pressure to be a certain person. You don't have that pressure to be a certain image and say all the right things and all that stuff. That just gives you more stress and anxiety, and just more takes you back into that state of depression and bitterness and just anger and sad. All those those characteristics, those traits that go into that type of. Think of it like a suit. You have this suit over here that's gratitude and grace and freedom. Then you have another suit you put on that's full of depression, anxiety, bitterness, anger. So, like, what are you doing, or what are you doing? Is it making you put on that suit that's depression and bitterness, or is it making you put on the other suit? Because the other suit's the one you want to wear forever, right? That's your identity. That's the true you. And so, but again, the biggest thing I also noticed for myself, and I hope if you guys can relate to this, when you have that state of gratitude and grace, like tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is supposed to be, you know, gratitude, thankful. That's how I viewed it with the Lord. Thankful with your family, why you're thankful for them, right? And I think we've kind of forgotten about this in our society. It's become just kind of just we look at these holidays now. It's just more people are more excited about Halloween now than they are Thanksgiving. They take that more serious. When in reality, you should be spending time. We all should. And this goes for me too. We all should be spending time reflecting and being really thankful for the things we have, and the gratitude and the grace God has shown us and what He showed us on the cross. But we forget that. We'll worry about all these other things. We place some more priority on these other things than we do what's really important. And so, again, but when you get in that state of gratitude and grace, and you take that pressure off yourself, and you're not trying to solve everything right now, you're just in this very flow state, you start to allow things more. And the more you allow things and not force things, the less stress you're going to have, but also you're letting God take control of the situation. And when you let Him take control of the situation, things start to take off. The things you actually want, things you need in your life, you start to take off. Because when you constantly try to get ahead of God, basically try to fix it yourself, God's just sitting there back waiting for you. He did that with me for a while. I was out running around trying to solve everything on my own, like I said earlier, and God was just sitting in the back, just like this, waiting on me. And then He said, "Are you ready now?" When I hit rock bottom, He was like, "You ready now?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah," because I associated so much pain with where I was, and I realized you can't do it on your own, and you don't need to solve everything right now. But also, when you have that state of just allowing things to happen, which I learned and I've been experiencing more and more, you actually start to expect things to happen. Because the guy, like what I said earlier, I wrote this down in my notes from that sermon I listened to Charles Stanley. God gives the promise to give all your needs. God is perfect. God is faithful. The only thing God forgets is sin. He don't forget all his other promises. Those promises are always there and they always will be. So again, when you allow and give it to Him, you expect things to happen because they will happen in time. May not happen at the time we want them to, and that's what I've been experiencing. Sometimes with my patients. But again, when I'm in that state of gratitude, grace, and I stay focused on that, and I just stay, really just aware of it, and I'm more in the moment the best I can. I try to stay in the moment the best I can. Although we're human, it's hard. We have human flaws. We have flesh within us. It's very easy to start looking ahead and wanting to do all those, solve everything, and trying to, trying to get out of the situation maybe you're uncomfortable in. But that's where, again, you have to embrace that uncertainty, like I've talked about a lot on this show, and just allow and just let it go, and just go to the Word. What does the Word say? And just focus on truth. And we don't have we're not surrounded by truth anymore. That's the problem. We're not a lot of authenticity, not a lot of truth, not a lot of Not a lot of any of that in our society nowadays. Less God, which is the main problem. But again, when you're aware of all this and you break it down, I just start to really break down. Okay, maybe these are times where I put on that suit, like I talked about earlier, that suit of depression and bitterness. What are start to write it down. What are some things, maybe some people, maybe there are things that what I surround myself with and put myself in situations, I start to get trapped in over there, right? And so uh, I hope this all makes sense because I'm trying to really, it's a lot of things I broke down here in the last 20 minutes, but I'm trying to show a broader picture of two different states: a state of gratitude and grace and a state of bitterness and depression. Because when you really break those things down, there's a lot that goes into those things. Habits, thoughts, ideas, uh, all kinds of things that go actions, all kinds of things that go into those things that feed one or the other. And so, which one are you feeding? Which one do you feel like? Uh, how do I say this? Which one do you? I mean, really, it's actually, yeah, it's this simple. Which one do you want to gravitate more towards? Because a lot of people would say gratitude and grace, like, oh yeah, of course I want that. But some people don't, deep down inside, believe it or not. And that's very true. A lot of people with depression, anxiety, and with panic, or just people that have been in those states, you're down. It's very easy to be a victim. It's very easy to be woe is me, because we gain something from that. Sometimes you gain from being a victim. Now it's only temporary, but you can gain some type of love and support and people. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Oh, because maybe that type of love is missing in your life, right? It's very easy to be a victim. It's very easy to get those likes on social media when you're saying things you really don't believe, but it's acceptable on there, right? And so, again, there's an addiction to suffering with that other state. That's why I say, which one do you really want? That's up to you, because the other one gives you temporary, maybe quicker at times, satisfaction, relief. But the other one is more long term, more long lasting, true freedom and true inner peace. And I've experienced that firsthand. And so, and that's why I wanted to share this message today, because, uh, you know, this is something, this is an important stage when it comes to depression, when it comes to healing anxiety, when it comes to just getting out of any funk in your life or whatever you're in, and just really our society in general nowadays. And so, again, the choice is yours. Like I always say, and God gives you that choice. You have free will. But again, if God needs you to do something, if you aligned yourself with God and accept the Christ in your heart as your personal Lord and Savior, if you got a little off track like I did for a little bit, He's going to bring you back because He has a will for you. He has a will that needs to be done, and it's got to be done one way or another. You may experience heaven when you pass, but you may not experience heaven here on earth, and you can, but it's up to you, and He gives you that choice. And so, uh, I got a video today, as usual. I'd like to give more context into this. Uh, from my man, the anxiety guy, you know it. And this video is more about overcoming hopeless thinking. That's what the title of this is: overcoming hopeless thinking that leads to depression. And so he's kind of going to break this down a lot of what about talking about today with depression and bitterness and just that state of stuck in that state, because depression makes you feel stuck. Bitterness makes you angry and that victim mentality, and you can actually it makes you isolate too, and it made me isolate. And a lot of times that causes doubt, which makes your beliefs shrink. And when your beliefs shrink, you're very vulnerable to the worldly thinking, to the worldly things. When you have no belief, you have low self-esteem, and you just feel stuck. And so the only way you feel out of it is just, or getting through it, is you start succumbing to those other things that are healthy for you, like I was saying. And so my man Dennis is going to break down this video and, break down in this video a lot of things here, like he always does, to go more depth with the depression and the hopeless thinking. And so, from a more anxiety and mental health standpoint. And so, Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking, and I'm just gonna keep. I'm gonna play this through. I may stop if he says something I really want to hit on. Other than that, I'm just gonna play it through. It's only 11 minutes, so it'll go by pretty quick. So yeah, listen up to my man Dennis here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Anxiety Guy on this excellent YouTube channel. I get a lot of this question. People going, Dennis, I have hopeless thinking. Dennis, I have depression. I constantly struggle with my thoughts and my beliefs, and I constantly struggle with the way I view the world. And I just actually had a one-on-one with someone who was struggling through the same sort of problems, and I truly felt for this person because I know what it feels like. I know the pain. I know the limited thinking that it can give you, and it keeps you in a bubble of just negativity and pessimism. So I really wanted to tackle this issue today, guys, and got my lemon water today. No coffee, no tea. Incredible. Dennis doesn't have tea or coffee. And we're going to get into the first one, the first idea that's going to help us to overcome hopeless thinking and eventually overcome our depression naturally. Now, the idea is to base your thinking on fact. So, a lot of times when we go through this hopeless thinking cycle, we don't recognize that one key to ending the cycle is to recognize that you could actually be wrong, right? And a lot of times we get feelings, we get thoughts that are triggered through our experiences, and we build up this belief system, and all we see is that feared belief system, and we see nothing else. And a lot of times we must recognize that in fact our feelings are not facts, our thoughts are not facts. Our unconscious mind is trying to keep us safe or happy, but if it had to choose, it will always try to keep us safe and keep moving towards what's familiar. So
I had to stop right there on that point. That's a big point he said there. Notice what he said. Our feelings and our mind, our subconscious mind, will always keep us to what's safe and familiar. So again, when you like I say this multiple times, when you if you start to feel resistance or uncertainty when you make these type of changes, embrace it. It's going to feel uncomfortable at first. That's okay. Like you said, it's not a fact. These feelings aren't fact. It's just resistance. That's all it is. But you can embrace that resistance and almost have like a friendship with it in a way. You embrace it, give it a hug, and welcome it. Because when the other side of that uncertainty is freedom, is what you really want. Your true self, where you want to be in your life. And so remember this as you start to apply these things and start to turn from that state, that old state, to the new one, you're going to feel resistance. And I always point that out because it's very key. Because a lot of people, when they feel that resistance initially, they revert right back to where they were and they just stay stuck in that cycle. But no, you have to stick with it. You have to understand what it is. And once you understand what it is, it's just your subconscious mind. You know, these are habits you've built on for so long. It's you've made the state you've been in. You've what do I want to say? You've conditioned yourself to believe that this state you're in of depression and fear as safe because you believe it's kept your maintain your survival or maintained whatever an image X, whatever X is, right? And so once you understand that, you understand there's going to be resistance, going to feel uncomfortable. Now you understand how to work with that, and once you do that, man, you start to then things start to really change for you. But I wanted to point that out because that's a very, very key point in terms of overcoming all these type of things of depression, anxiety, panic, whatever it is. And so, yeah, that's a good point there. I'm a man, Dennis, like always. But I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna get back to the video.
So it's really important that you understand that a thought is just a thought. A belief can, in fact, be replaced with a new empowering belief. And a lot of times we need to base our thinking on fact. I'm hopeless. I'll never achieve what I want to achieve. That's complete bullshit, because a lot of times we don't recognize our own skills and abilities due to this hopeless thinking cycle. So, number one, guys, give yourself some room, give yourself some space, and understand that your thinking should be based around facts, not just one or two experiences that have happened to you in the past. So, take a really good look. Number two is you have to give yourself a chance to see. And it's important to look and give consideration to basically all evidence out there. And this goes hand in hand with number one. And it's important to take into consideration all the possibilities, not just one possibility. Everything is just one way. And hopeless thinking and depression can truly manifest in a person because they feel a sense of closed-mindedness. They feel a sense of dread because their options are so limited. And when you give yourself these limited options, a lot of times it can manifest into, severe depression. A lot of people go through life basically thinking the worst, thinking that things are hopeless, thinking that things are just always going to be the way they are. But the truth is that your past does not equal your future. Your past does not represent what's going to be coming up in the future. A lot of
Man. What a hell of a point there he made, because he's so right. Your past isn't your future. But again, let me say there, limited thinking. When you're in that state of bitterness, depression, anxiety, whatever it is, that negative state, you have a limited view of yourself. You don't feel like you're capable of things. But again, when you tap into that state of gratitude and grace, change your mindset, view the situation you're in from a different standpoint. You start to tap into, you are unlimited actually, because through God you're limitless. But again, you got to tap into that, and God's gifted you with things. He wouldn't put you in a situation you're not capable of doing. And so again, if you have dreams, you have goals, you have aspirations that you feel are attainable, go for them. You're not limited. You're not going to be stuck in this state. And I know what it's like, and he knows what it's like. I know that's why he brought it up, because he's been there as well. I've been there, and it's a very down state. But as time goes on, you start to realize, like, hey, man, it's like he said, this is bullshit. Like this isn't true. I have no evidence for what I'm believing. These illusions. Think of the evidence you have. Think of the evidence you have against it. I have a hell of a lot more evidence against my illusions and my fears uh, than they had. The fear itself. And so, again, but I had to get to that state of having grace upon myself as well. We talk about God's grace is overflowing. You know, that's a gift God gives us. But when you allow yourself to experience that, things start to slow down, and you start to look at things for what they really are. See, that's kind of what I've been trying to get at today. It's just how you can slow things down and, and get to that state of flow, that state of that contagious state I was talking about, and it's really experiencing, uh, not only what life can offer you, the joy it can offer you, but also what God's plan is for you, what His will is for you, and you start to experience His love and His grace with gratitude, and you start to uh, reflect and think on things that are in line with who you want to be, that are positive, not all the negative stuff, not all the illusions, not all the pressures of society, because you take the pressure away from you, right? And so another key point there. I'm gonna try to stop, but my man, he's always nailing points. I got to stop making comment, but I'll make it back to the video here.
times we need to see this. We need to really understand this concept, this idea that our past doesn't, in fact, equal our future. And when we start to do this, we start to go through life with more faith, and we start to become more open minded, and we start to see the possibilities in things rather than the hopelessness in all of those things. The third way to overcome hopeless thinking, guys, is to actually overcome what's called cognitive emotive dissonance. And cognitive emotive dissonance is kind of this feeling you get in your stomach or your gut, where when you get a belief from somebody or when you get this new information, it just simply doesn't feel right. And because it doesn't feel right, a lot of times, what do we tend to do? We tend to go, no, that's not right. It's not in line with my current beliefs. It's not in line with my identity, the person that I think I am. And this strange feeling makes it seem like the new information is just always wrong. New information, when we get this new information, or when we start a certain program, or when we begin to dive deep into life coaching with someone, whatever it may be, a lot of times we don't really take into consideration that new information we're getting, because it's not in line. It's not in line with what my unconscious core beliefs are telling me. And a lot of times we tend to tackle our problems consciously, and a lot of times we don't recognize the unconscious deep down core belief that is truly, pointing the signals as to why things are going wrong in your life, why things are not improving, why you're continuously living in a life of depression. So cognitive emotive dissonance, guys, that feeling in your gut when you feel like the information is wrong and therefore negatively viewing it or pushing it aside or putting up your walls, the best way to go about that is the next one. And number 4 is basically practicing your new belief. And when I did a one-on-one just a couple of minutes ago with someone online, this person had so much potential. I mean, you could just see that this person deep down wanted her true identity to come out, right? And a lot of times there's these walls, these firewalls that are preventing that person to come out because we don't allow ourselves to feel good. A lot of times our new identity, or the identity we truly want, pokes its head out, and your unconscious mind goes, no, that's not what we want. We want stuff that's familiar. We want to stay safe. We don't want to actually step out of our comfort zone. We want to stay in this bubble where it's safe and nothing will go wrong, nothing will go right, and just continue to live in a constant pattern of fear and worry. But when you start to practice this new belief, when you start to write it down, when you start to read it daily, you're starting to really go into a new direction. Your life starts to move towards a new path, and you're starting to overcome some of those core beliefs. You're starting to replace them. But guys, nothing happens until you start to look at these new belief systems as a way of practicing. A lot of times, and I'll give you another example. When I had panic attacks, panic attacks, when I say the word, it's almost like it doesn't give it the power that I was truly feeling in the moment. It's like panic attacks. No, honestly, I would call them life-threatening moments of just doom and gloom and just the worst possible stuff. Of course, they weren't. Panic attack is never life-threatening, but it felt like that. But for me to overcome my panic attacks, I needed to practice my new belief in the situations that were causing me fear or causing me to panic, right? And when I started to recognize, wow, when I go to the grocery store and when I feel anxiety when I'm in line, and when I start to feel these panicky situations, I can view this differently. I don't have to run from it. I don't have to fight back. I don't have to try to get rid of it. What I can do is, through the evidence that I have built up around me, I can start to take that evidence and go, this is related to anxiety. This is related to panic. And therefore, this situation is an opportunity to practice my new belief. Practice the new belief.
Turn my mic on. I had to come on camera for this one because I use this technique all the time, and I've used it even recently. And I'll even tell you a story recently, real quick, and I'll play the rest of the video out. I've had many times where anybody knows me. I ride to cycle. I ride my bike for exercise, all around town and all that stuff. And it's one of the exercises I use is my bike. Um, but there's been many times when I've been out on that bike where maybe I've had a little anxiety, a little panic. I start to feel it a little bit. Just your body's working, you start to feel a little anxious sometimes. I've had moments like that in the past, and I remember there was one time, and I thought about this because the cup I actually have today says Silver Lake on it. Shout out to Silver Lake. And I was over biking by there, and I remember I stopped at the lake because it's a nice place to go sit and just kind of at the end of my ride, just kind of sit and unwind for a minute, catch my breath, drink some water. And this one day in particular, and I've had this happen a couple times, many times I've had in different environments, but I remember this one in particular. And I remember my body, my mind was like, okay, just go home now. Like, just go home. We don't feel too good right now. We need to get home right now. And what that was the safety mechanism. That was the subconscious mind telling me, hey, we feel a little anxious, feel little symptoms, get home. When I know the facts were, like he said earlier, look at the facts. The facts of my situation were is I'm fine. What I'm feeling is okay. It's not gonna kill me. There's nothing wrong here. And I literally just sat myself on a bench and I said, you know what? I'm sitting right here. And I said, go ahead and bring it, anxiety. Bring it. And I no music, no nothing. I just sat there in silence. And it was a little uncomfortable at first. My body's kind of like the mind's like, okay, what are we doing? Like to your subconscious mind, when you allow let go like that and not take action like it wants you to fight against the symptoms and the thoughts and the feelings, it's like death to the subconscious mind. like, oh shit, we might die now. When in reality, no, you won't. And so I just sat there and I allowed it. And I took my focus elsewhere. I started looking around. I started looking at other things, looking up at the planes flying by. I took my focus elsewhere. And I said, let me just sit here for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, I was like, it wasn't that bad. 10 minutes turned into 20 minutes. 20 minutes turned into 30 minutes. Before you know it, I'm there like 45 minutes later, taking pictures and, just hanging out on my phone, listening to music, just enjoying. And I'm actually enjoying the environment, the peace of it. It's nice. I'm out of the house, you know, and I actually, in turn, flipped it, my mindset in a matter of 20 minutes. And when I left, I was like, I didn't really want to go home after. And so, again, you can see though, that's just a small example of how not only in the moment how you can shift your mind, but also what I've been saying earlier today in the broader standpoint of how you can shift your state you're in, and you start to become more of that gratitude and grace. And those times where I left, let's say when I left the lake that day in particular, or when I left an environment that I allowed myself to sit in or whatever, I start to feel those things. I start to feel God working within me. I just felt the presence of God and peace because I just let it go to Him. That's basically what I was doing. Was excuse me, saying, "Okay, anxiety, I'm gonna let you go. I'm just gonna put it in God's hand with faith." And He mentioned that word, faith. And when you have more gratitude and more grace, and you allow more grace into your life, and have grace upon yourself through God, especially, your faith starts to you start to get to a more high level faith. When you get to that high level faith, man, things start to take off in your life. Let me tell you that things start to really happen because you're allowing more. You're taking the pressure off yourself. And so, again, I love that point he made there, and I want to share that because it really. I had this cup right here. I was like, hey, you know what? I remember that. One of the many times I had to do that, but sometimes I still have to do that in certain situations. I have to allow myself. Again, I'm still growing in my own journey. And what I'm working on. But again, those things like that have helped me along the way to build trust in not only my body, again, my mind to let go of those things, but also my faith grows my faith. And so, and when that happens, you have more of that gratitude and more of that grace. And yeah, I mean, as simple as that. But I'm gonna finish out the rest of this video and then I'll close it out.
Belief that I've been writing down in my journal and I've been trying to put into action in my own life, this is a time to practice. It's not a time to run. And when I did that, I was starting to go, you know what? Wow, I can't wait for the next panic attack. I mean, as ridiculous as that sounds, I was almost wanting a panic attack to happen so that I could practice this new approach that I had. So it's important that you continue to practice your new belief, guys. And the last one is that the idea of trying. And when I do these one-on-ones with people, a lot of people go, Dennis, I've tried it all. I've tried it. And trying is basically a proven method for failure. It really is. Trying is a proven method for failure. You can try something or you can do something. When you start to listen to yourself and you go, I'm going to try my best to stop my anxiety today. Or you could say, I'm going to use the tools that I've learned to put into practice some of the methods, the new methods I'm trying to do to overcome my anxiety. The way you word things are powerful because your unconscious mind, what it's doing is it's always learning. It's every second of your life, even while you're sleeping, it's taking in information, right? And what you need to do is go, holy shit, if I just start to recognize how I'm speaking to someone, oh, I tried that, or I'm trying this new thing. Trying is a recipe for failure. It truly is. But if you start to reword it and go, I'm doing this thing, I'm partaking in this new method, I'm whatever it may be, replacing the word trying with doing, guys, is going to go a long way towards your recovery from hopeless thinking and depression. So stop trying, start doing. And if you guys are interested, head over to anxietyexit.com, start working with me one-on-one. And remember, guys, that you are more than anxiety. You are more than what your identity is in this moment. Your true identity cannot shine until you start to take control of your mind, when you start to take control of your beliefs. And that is the process that the Anxiety Guy YouTube channel and the Anxiety Guy podcast is trying to put into place. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Love you guys. You're more than anxiety, and have a wonderful day.
And great video, like always, from man Dennis, the Anxiety Guy. I'll link that video below if you want to go watch it again. Go subscribe to his channel, like always. If you ever need any help, you can hit him up online. He'll get back to you, and he's got a lot of great resources in terms of anxiety and panic and mental health. And yeah, go give him a follow and subscribe, like always. But yeah, great video. And like I said, I love what he said there about faith, because all these things, and I put this on the screen, I don't know if you guys saw it, about how action breeds confidence. And a lot of times we view action as going and doing something. A lot of times, like I have to do something dramatic or something significant. When in reality, action can just be anything, any form of action, right? And any form of action can be, uh, saying to yourself, like he said there, he said to fix your wording. I'm not going to try to do this. I am going to do this. That's action. That's taking action. You're verbalizing it. You're saying it. You're doing it in your mind, and you're fixing yourself. Like you said, you're correcting that verbiage there, and that's what it is. And it's action breeds confidence, but it also takes you out of that state, and it takes you out of that just that state of bitterness, depression, and just that, like I said earlier, that suit. You're gonna put that suit on, or you're gonna put on the suit of gratitude and grace and freedom and peace and true joy and happiness. And so, like I always say, the choice is yours. And so, uh, you know, no more of the loser mentality, no more of the victimhood, no more of the limited thinking, no more of the, you know, just look around. Like I said, when you're sitting there tomorrow at Thanksgiving, notice what's going on, not just around, maybe the people around you, not saying maybe not the people around you, but maybe just focus tomorrow and notice how what the country's saying, what our society's saying tomorrow about Thanksgiving, and how we're viewing it. And you'll be really surprised how you see so many people at a state tomorrow. How many people tomorrow are going to say something? Are going to say what the like say something in terms of what they're really thankful for? Or they're just going to show up, eat the food, bitch a little bit, and then leave. It's just because we're all stuck in that our society. We're just, I mean, just think about it. That's what I was getting at earlier. Just notice tomorrow just how many people are so stuck in that state and in that, that funk almost. And they're just kind of forgetting this. It's just tomorrow's just another holiday to them. It's just another day. It just is what it is. There's no spirit involved there. And like I said earlier, you'll see you start to realize too. A lot of these people, they're kind of contagious in a bad way. They're not contagious in a good way. You know, and I'm not saying get rid of people. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying bring that awareness to you tomorrow on Thanksgiving, because I'm a challenge myself. And I'm gonna challenge you guys too, and just really sit and notice tomorrow what you observe, just in general. Maybe even starting today, in preparation for it, and just kind of a lot of what you see nowadays, how the spirit's gone. You start to notice too more and more just how, uh, like I said, people just uh, have forgotten the meaning of it, the holiday, but also just how people have forgotten, um, what gratitude really is, what grace really is, what God's definitions of those things really are, why He gifted those to us. And so, yeah, that's what I'll be looking forward to tomorrow. Is you know, not looking forward. Well, I'm looking forward to tomorrow to enjoying time with my family and spending time with my loved ones. But also, I'll be paying attention. What I meant to say, I'll be paying attention to I kind of focusing around, and I have been already leading up in this week to tomorrow. It's just kind of, and this is what I'll put that sermon I talked about earlier for Charles staying below, and he really talks about this. He talks about just, and I'll be paying attention tomorrow, just how aware, like, do I feel that spirit anymore? How much of that do you feel tomorrow? And so, and I challenge you guys to be aware of that, because I want you to realize that just because other people are in that state, and you might be surrounded by that state of that kind of contagiousness, that negativity maybe, or just that kind of spirit, doesn't mean you have to be in that state. If you want to do what's best for yourself, and you deserve what's best for yourself, and you you want what's best for yourself, you deserve it. You deserve the best. God wants to give you the best. Then take it upon yourself tomorrow, or and not just tomorrow, but starting today or any day, to start becoming that person. And it doesn't matter what people around you are doing. It doesn't matter what people may say or think about you. Just do it. Because in the end, do you want to keep wearing that suit of depression and sadness and just that whatever negative state you're in? Maybe there's a burden you've been carried around for a long time. There's something maybe that's been hindering you down for a long time, for some time now, whatever it is. Maybe recently. Do you want to stay at that suit, put that suit on every day, and stay in that state? Because think of the latter. Think of the long-term effects of staying in that state, and be really honest with yourself. Probably not that good. But if you put on the other suit and commit to the other way and commit to the long term, like I said in my couple of episodes ago, uh, gratitude, grace, God's love, and really embrace the journey, like I've said today, and embrace that leap of faith and embrace that uncertainty, that unfamiliarness. Watch what happens to you. Because I've experienced it firsthand. It's a very calming and peaceful place to be. And you really start to, it doesn't matter what's going on around you in the world, you just kind of let it go by. You just stay focused on what you need to be focused on. And that's what's most important. And so that's a message for today. On my way out of here, though, I do want to read this verse. I meant to read it earlier. It goes to Thanksgiving. I really like this verse. Colossians 2, 6 through 7. Therefore, as you receive Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk in him, rooted and built in him, and established in the faith, just as you were taught, abounding in thanksgiving. And so that verse really sums up my message for today in a lot of ways there. And I love the word faith there. And just, I like what he said, establishing in the faith, just as you were taught, abounding in thanksgiving, and walking in him. And that's everything I just said there at the end. And that verse really sums it up. And, that's a message for you guys today for Thanksgiving. Like I said, happy Thanksgiving. And if you really took something away from this message today, please leave a comment below or message me online. Sometimes people do that, or you have my number. Let me know. I want to hear your feedback on this episode today. Maybe how it applied to you or what you really took from it. And I really am curious to what your guys' thoughts are on this video today and this message, because the more feedback I get, the more it'll help me to, maybe go deeper in this topic, and maybe some more things I can add to it per se, and just the feedback's great. So share me your feedback or anything else you need help with. I got links below. You can contact me, resources, all that kind of stuff. Go Bucks this weekend too. Like I said, I cannot wait for that game, especially after last year. So I think we're going to win. I think what will be my score prediction on the way out of here? My score prediction for the game would be, I'm going to say 45-27 Bucks. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to go 45-27. And the Buckeyes win and move on to the Big Ten championship game. So, again, looking forward to Saturday. Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. Gone.